Welcome to Smash Fiction, yada yada yada. This week, the cast of Seinfeld versus John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yes!
That's terrible. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Great job.
This spooky season, Smash Fiction welcomes you to Smashtoberfest.
After spending a year in prison for being pretty much the worst people ever, Jerry Seinfeld, George Costanza, Elaine Benes, and Cosmo Kramer are released back into the world. However, their reintroduction to free society is less than stellar. Somehow, in the time when they were behind bars, cable television was reduced from a cultural juggernaut to an anachronistic form of entertainment, portable phones had become not only practical but ubiquitous, and nerdy podcasts about fictional characters had arisen to become the dominant form of discourse. Quickly overwhelmed by a modern life they no longer recognize and struggle to adapt to, the four friends decide that they need some time away to clear their heads and center themselves. It turns out that their roomy Manhattan apartments have sold for a frankly staggering amount of money, and they can afford to take a few weeks and vacation in the mountains of Vermont, where the oncoming winter months have left snow on the ground and a brisk temperature, guaranteed to chase away the existential dread that can only be felt and understood by those who are living in a generation that looks and feels very different from their own. Their cars have been sold in the time since they've been in prison, so the four take a series of trains into Vermont, then hitchhike up toward the hunting lodge they've rented out for the winter. During this drive, Kramer suddenly manages to get radio privileges and tunes into an AM station, where, amidst warnings of reptilians, the Illuminati, and fluoride in the American water supply, the four friends find themselves oddly fixated on a warning given out of an alien creature seen roaming the snowy wooded areas of the northeastern United States. This extraterrestrial thing is said to be able to assimilate and consume living creatures, taking on their physical appearance and memories, becoming ultimately indistinguishable from the real deal until it deigns to feed and assimilate again. Under normal circumstances, the four friends would laugh off such obviously brain-dead ravings, but something about this broadcast feels ominous. Meanwhile, the man known only as Newman is behind the wheel of a mail truck and is similarly headed to the Vermont hunting lodge, having been invited by Kramer, unbeknownst to Jerry. Wanting to get there ahead of the other four in order to claim the biggest bedroom for himself, Newman decides to take a shortcut and ends up getting his mail truck stuck in a snowdrift by the side of the road. Newman climbs out and tries to come up with a way to free his truck. During that time...
But then a Dilophosaurus shows up.
That's my joke, thank you.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to stomp on that, honestly.
Good job. During that time, he is incessantly pestered by a Malamute that's wandered out of nowhere. Newman tries to shoo the dog away, then throws a stick hoping the dog will chase it, and eventually tries to scare it away. The dog responds to this last tactic by letting loose a low, moaning howl, unlike anything any creature of Earth should be able to make. Its face peels away, revealing a hideous and misshapen alien facsimile of a canine, and the thing pounces. Sometime later, once the four friends have arrived at the hunting lodge and are admiring the taxidermy and making snide comments about the unusual number of firearms hung up all over the walls, the doorbell rings. Jerry answers and sees that it is none other than his age-old nemesis. "Hello, Newman," sneers Jerry, making no effort to hide the contempt in his voice. Newman doesn't respond, walking stiffly past Jerry and into the lodge. Jerry stares in disbelief that Newman didn't give his usual dismissive response to Jerry's greeting, and given that his truck is nowhere in sight, apparently walked here from some great distance, an act which the notoriously lazy Newman would never consider. Something disquieting stirs inside of Jerry. He finds himself reminded of the stories on the radio of the shape-shifting alien thing, and how it could assimilate the entire human race if given the chance, and feels his stomach drop as he realizes that neither he nor his friends have any way of contacting the outside world, and the nearest town is miles away. Jerry has all these thoughts and more in his head when he finds his eyes lingering on the numerous pistols, rifles, and shotguns adorning the walls. The Seinfeld crew smells a rat in their midst, but will they be able to survive a winter with the shape-shifting alien known as The Thing? I have no idea, which is why I, Dan Mulcairn, will be practicing my trademark brand of observational humor from the sidelines this week. Representing The Thing are Miles Schneiderman.
Hello, Logan.
And Kit Mulcairn.
Hello, Colin.
Representing Seinfeld and his amazing friends are Liz Logan
No win for you!
and Colin Mulcairn.
What's the deal with these things? After they change somebody into one of them, they can look like anything, but they still choose to look exactly the same as they did before. You'd think they'd at least get a little taller or maybe drop a few pounds. If I became a thing and I could look like anything I wanted, looking exactly like I do right now would be at the bottom of my list.
Very good.
God, it's like he's there.
In order to determine who goes first this week, I was inspired by Season 4, Episode 11 of Seinfeld and decided to hold a contest to see how long our advocates could go without self-gratification.
I'm out.
All the while referring to it indirectly and euphemistically. Miles was out before I finished saying the rules, so Team Seinfeld remains, if only by default, masters of their domain, and will be going first. I will point out that is the second time that Miles has preempted one of my jokes mid-sentence. A point of rules clarification, the Thing's goal is to completely kill and consume all 4 members of the Seinfeld cast. As long as one New Yorker survives, the Seinfeld crew wins. Team Seinfeld, what's the deal with opening arguments?
Okay, so in its last outing, the Thing was able to seemingly assimilate most of the inhabitants of an Antarctic research station before they seemingly blew it up. I say seemingly because I understand that, when it gets down to the last couple people, exactly who was and who was not converted and whether or not the Thing is truly killed is somewhat open to interpretation. But not this time. In this outing, there will be no ambiguous ending. Just ask the Bubble Boy, the Soup Nazi, Babu, Poppy, that old woman who was just trying to buy a marble rye, George's now deceased ex-fiancée Susan Ross, anyone who spends an extended period of time in the vicinity of the 4 horsemen of meanness does not meet with a happy end.
Let's break them down one by one. First up, we have Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry is perceptive of every flaw in the people around him. He has broken up with women for having man hands, for having an annoying laugh, for eating peas, for not eating pie, for getting splashed one time by toilet water, and the list goes on and on. If anyone around him starts exhibiting odd behavior, Jerry will be the first to know. He is cold and meticulous to such an absurd degree that multiple people throughout the course of the series have unironically compared him to a Nazi. Jerry also, at numerous points throughout the series, demonstrates a tremendous degree of intelligence, such as in the episode The Boyfriend, when he is able to reconstruct a spitting incident based on testimonial from Kramer and Newman, and after noticing a flaw in their logic, he is able to debunk their magic loogie theory and put forth his own second spitter theory as a way of exonerating New York Mets first baseman Keith Hernandez. No detail, no clue, no matter how small, will ever escape the notice of Jerry. Next up, we have George Costanza, and George is unquestionably one of the most sociopathic protagonists in television history. He faked converting to another religion as a way of impressing a woman he was attracted to. He took a photo of himself with a corpse in an attempt to take advantage of an airline's bereavement discount for people that book last-minute flights to attend funerals. After he unsuccessfully tried to pick up a waitress who worked at Monk's Cafe, he launched an elaborate plot with the goal of getting her fired so that he would be spared the awkwardness of seeing her again. In the finale of Seinfeld, Dr. Wexler states that when he told George about his fiance's death, George displayed a look on his face of, quote, restrained jubilation. If George suspects that one of his friends has become a thing, he will preserve his own life above all else and not hesitate to do what needs to be done to survive.
And third in line is Elaine Benes. Brave, assertive, and ruthless, Elaine is the dango that eats babies of the crew. Honestly, the proposition of being able to shove either Jerry, George, or Kramer, and definitely Newman for being an alien would be right up Elaine's alley. All it would take is one, get out, and a hearty shove to send one of them flying. When Elaine suspects that something bad is afoot, she does not rest until she gets to the bottom of it. She is unafraid of confronting people about their views on topics like smoking, religion, or even abortion, and cutting people out of her life when their views do not align with her own. She has conducted elaborate investigations to figure out the musical preferences of her boyfriend Putty, or the ethnicity of her boyfriend Daryl. At one point in time, she says threateningly to a telephone repairman, "You know, I could have killed you and no one would have known." While the other members of the crew may be perceptive or heartless, Elaine ain't afraid to get shit done.
And last, but far from least, we have Kramer. Kramer is, unsurprisingly, the wild card of the group. An assemblage of seemingly random abilities and personality traits, Kramer is capable of possessing whatever skills or knowledge the writers feel like giving him in a particular week. He is, without question, the most physically fit of the bunch, seen taking karate classes in the episode The Foundation. He has a mind which is both insane and brilliant, like all true geniuses, the father of inventions as wild and varied as the shower garbage disposal, a pizza restaurant where you make your own pie, cologne that smells like the beach, and of course, the coffee table book. But perhaps his greatest moment of intelligence can be seen when he is attempting to discern George's pin simply by a series of absurd yet highly accurate leaps of intuition. All right, let's see. We can throw out birthdays immediately, that's too obvious. And no numbers for you, you're a word man. Let's go deeper. What kind of man are you? Well, you're weak, spineless, a man of temptations. But what tempts you? You're a portly fellow, a bit long in the waistband, so what's your pleasure? Is it the salty snacks you crave? No. Yours is a sweet tooth. Oh, you may stray, but you'll always return to your dark master, the cocoa bean. And only the purest syrup nectar can satisfy you. If you could, you'd guzzle it by the gallon. Ovaltine? Hershey's? Nestle's Quick? At this point, George runs out of the room. Kramer is only moments away from discovering that George's pin was Bosco.
But really, the number one strength of the Seinfeld Four is that they know everything about each other's lives. Kramer has entered Jerry's apartment 380 times completely unannounced. A reporter mistakenly thought George and Jerry were a gay couple. Jerry has slept with Elaine. Everyone is still friends with Elaine despite her terrible dancing. These characters are completely intertwined, so the second something seems off about one another, they will know. In contrast, the characters in John Carpenter's The Thing are work colleagues. They aren't exposed to each other's dirty laundry and weird, wild stuff like the Seinfeld crew are. Of course not all of them survived. They had nothing to base each other acting weird on. Even then, though, at least 2 of them survived, so surely at least 2 of the Seinfeld crew will be surviving.
And perhaps the biggest strike against The Thing in this matchup is the vessel that it has been given to start with. The fact that Newman is the host for The Thing in this match means that the 4 are as safe as they could possibly be. Jerry hates Newman to a degree that I do not possess the words to adequately convey. He regularly refers to him as pure evil. When Elaine suggests, maybe there's more to Newman than meets the eye, Jerry responds, no, there's less. George hates just about everyone, and would like to spend no time with anyone he doesn't have to, and Newman is no exception to that. Elaine knows that Newman has a crush on her, and he creeps her the hell out. The only member of the 4 who is even remotely friendly with Newman is Kramer, and as stated earlier, Kramer is the most physically fit member of the group, and would be the most difficult one to ensnare with tentacles. And even if the Thing did somehow manage to assimilate Kramer, that brings it no steps closer to assimilating the other 3, because none of the other 3 would ever want to spend any time alone with Kramer either. And only one member of the foursome needs to survive this weekend for us to win the scenario.
Now, on to how they would actually deal with the Thing, through either cleverness or violence. The Seinfeld crew are no strangers to taking advantage of each other for their own gain. Of course, always in good fun. They love to lord things over each other and tempt the others into doing something in order to gain something else. They repeatedly conduct investigations in order to dig up dirt on others or Newman. They're no strangers to having scrappy fights with each other, especially if accusing the other one of being a liar if they are one, or stealing a parking space. Then, when it comes to figuring out who may become infected with the Thing, Kramer is an expert in extracting and storing blood. He's hoarded gallons of his own blood, moved it through New York blood banks, and then into his refrigerator. The monster cannot eat or drink, something the Seinfeld crew loves to do. If one of them isn't doing this, something's wrong. Metallic objects would also be thrown off the newly taken over body, so if Elaine gets taken, her earrings would be pushed out, something the characters would notice. Plus, all the characters have experience with fire. I mean, we've seen them set their hair on fire, be at a birthday party that gets set on fire, and in one episode, Kramer spills a bunch of paint thinner on the road. Newman, driving the mail truck with a spark-creating sewing machine dragging underneath, sets the paint thinner on fire, and then sets his truck on fire. Newman is visibly and audibly freaked out. If the Thing is taking over Newman and absorbing his memories, Newman is already scared of fire due to the freak accident, and if even one ember manages to catch him while being the Thing, the Newman Thing will be doubly freaked out. And honestly, all the Seinfeld crew needs to do is convince one of them to stay behind and distract the Thing so the others can get away. You don't always have to be faster than the monster, you just have to be faster than your friends. And given myriad examples about how nearly all of them are selfish bastards, this is a completely valid scenario. All it could take is Jerry asking if George missed his Rageaholics meeting, making George think he's made no progress, that the universe is against him, he's still bottling up his rage, and just making him so mad! Then throwing himself at the Thing and sacrificing himself nobly for the crew to get rid of his rage. By the end of the scenario, some members of the foursome may end up sacrificing themselves, or someone else, for the good of the cause, but without a doubt, at least one of these selfish assholes will emerge victorious at the end of this weekend as the unquestioned master of their domain.
Wow. That was just as wonderful as I hoped it would be. Very good, Team Seinfeld. Team Thing, can you shapeshift yourself into a champion?
For those uninitiated in the ways of John Carpenter, the Thing is a parasitic, shape-shifting alien that disguises itself as your friend, or maybe your dog, waits for the right moment, splits the fuck open, and starts wrapping tentacles around your face, eats you, digests you, and becomes you, possibly all at the same time. When the Thing looks like you, it looks exactly like you, and has all your memories and personality traits. Until the moment it suddenly has giant teeth for a chest and is biting off your arms, that is. Any contact with the thing is enough to infect you, and any part of the thing severed from the original thing turns into a new thing. When it's large enough to have a functioning brain, it is intelligent and tactical, as well as being absurdly fast and strong. Like when an infected guy's arm detaches from his body, turns into a thing, and fucks Tormund Giantsbane's day right up. Meanwhile, the other arm and the rest of the body go their separate ways to infect some more poor bastards who never had a chance, but who still had more of a chance than the cast of Seinfeld. Speaking in terms of the fictional chronology, the first time we see the thing is when it infects the team at a Norwegian research base. This team consists of 15 people, including a paleontologist, 3 geologists, several scientific researchers, and 2 Vietnam War veterans. Precisely one of those people escapes infection and or death, and that person is Ramona Flowers, so she probably just pulled out a gigantic video game hammer or something. The thing then goes on to infect another team at an American research base, this one consisting of 12 people, including 2 biologists, a geologist, a meteorologist, and Kurt fucking Russell. Precisely one of these people escapes infection and or death. In case you were wondering, that would be Kurt fucking Russell.
And
Also
Captain Anderson.
Yeah, come on.
No,
Yeah.
no, he dies. In the video game of the thing, it is confirmed that he died of hypothermia in the snow.
Wow.
So he's dead. Yep, that happened. So, precisely one Kurt
Wait.
fucking Russell.
Did Miles just reference a video game that I
What
didn't know
the
about?
What?
Boom.
What is
It's
going on?
clearly this is not Miles. That's all I have to say.
Oh no.
After that, as revealed by the first video game, the thing tears through an entire US Special Forces team before finally being defeated by JF Blake, whose cells happen to have a special resistance to infection with the help, once again, of Kurt fucking Russell. These are smart people, trained people, scientists, military, Kurt fucking Russell. In this scenario, instead of smart people, trained people, scientists, military, or Kurt fucking Russell,
Okay,
we
every
have...
time you say that, it sounds like you're trying to promote a gay porno or something.
Between 2 guys named Kurt and Russell.
In the words of Johnny Cash, maybe I am. So instead of those people and Kurt fucking Russell, we have Jerry Seinfeld, a stand-up comedian who treats pretty much everyone with lighthearted contempt and views even his friends as little more than potential sources of joke material. Elaine Benes, a woman who once brought about the destruction of her own employer, Pendant Publishing, by cramming too much candy in her mouth. George Costanza, the most pathetic of all creatures, whose only success in life came when he started doing the exact opposite of every instinct he had in his body. And Cosmo Kramer, a man so stupidly inept that he was once beaten up by a gang at an AIDS walk for failure to wear the ribbon. I would love for Team Seinfeld to explain to me which one of these idiots is going to come up with a blood test to see which of their number are infected, or figure out how the thing functions and why it's important to keep it from reaching civilization, or, I don't know, operate a flamethrower. It's really nice that you guys set yourselves on fire all those times. That's nice. Now operate a flamethrower. The Seinfeld crew won't even be able to perform simple tests for the infected based on logic or personality, such as Kate deducing that Carter was infected because of his missing earring in the prequel. If Jerry notices that Elaine's earrings are missing, the only thing I really see happening is a long conversation about the relationship between jewelry and sex appeal. And is anyone really going to get suspicious if Kramer starts acting erratic? Or any of them? 4 people acting erratic is basically the entire premise of Seinfeld. It's a stretch to assume that these guys would even figure out the thing can imitate them at all, much less be able to piece together how it happens or what the telltale signs might be. We're dealing with people whose quote-unquote leader has a history of forgetting his girlfriend's names. If and when they actually realize that their lives are in mortal peril, the Seinfeld cast will turn on each other and attempt to engage in the 90s sitcom equivalent of GTFO. Make any argument you want about their friendship, these people are horrible to each other. They're less horrible to each other than they are to everyone else, but they don't have much in the way of empathy, nor do they have much in the way of bravery. Liz mentioned Jerry straight up mugging an old lady for a fucking, what was it, marble rye? George Costanza shoved children out of the way to escape a fire, and also, as you mentioned, showed no negative emotions whatsoever upon the death of his fiancée. Quite the opposite, in fact. There will be no camaraderie here. There's no one to take charge, demand rationality, and act for the greater good. There are just going to be 4 people running blindly through the darkness, terrified, alone, and ultimately, thinged.
If you want to tell a story about a monster being a monster, you make it big, scary, good at killing people, yada yada. If you want to tell a story about how humans are the real monsters, you trap them, isolate them, and you plant the seed of doubt that they can even trust each other. We see this frequently in horror because humans on a deep, dark level are afraid of losing control. Control of their surroundings, their situation, their bodies. And when we are hunted into corners and death looks at us with predatory eyes, that most ancient part of our brain that knows only fight or flight will gnaw and scratch at us until we turn on each other if it means survival. Trust is flung out the window the moment an isolated group of people learns that a killer could be hiding among them. Staying calm, being rational, and keeping everyone together is crucial to surviving the scenario. Fortunately for the Thing, the main Seinfeld foursome have proven in far less stressful situations that they are incapable of accomplishing this. As anyone who's ever played at least a handful of D&D games knows, you don't split the party. Especially when there's a shape-shifting fucking aberration walking around, snatching up your people, becoming your people. In the Seinfeld episode, The Parking Garage, our favorite four chucklefucks are lost looking for their car in a massive parking lot. They don't remember what section, or even what level they parked on, because no one thought to make a note of it. Meanwhile, Jerry has to pee, Elaine has 2 goldfish in a bag slowly suffocating, George has to get back to his place before his parents show up, and Kramer is lugging a heavy air conditioner. Keep in mind, this is before cell phones became widespread, so, much like the scenario, they were for the most part isolated from outside help, and their respective dilemmas created growing anxiety. Quite expectedly, through a combination of stress and the ever-present void of their common sense, they split. Kramer convinces Jerry to pee in a corner, then walks off. Shortly afterward, an officer arrests Jerry. Kramer also convinces George to the same, despite having already lost Jerry in this fashion, and yes, George gets arrested too. Then Elaine splits off to find Jerry. Do you want to be assimilated? Because this is how you get assimilated. After their inevitable split and rejoining, they will begin to suspect that one of them may have been taken by the Thing. And that little word, may, is all it takes to make far wiser people mistrust each other. The Seinfeld foursome are all compulsive liars and just plain bad people, and they know this about each other. They are self-serving assholes who purposefully aggravate one another. For example, when George's girlfriend walked around topless in front of everyone but George, Jerry kept teasing him about it, despite how angry it was clearly making George. When Elaine was trying to hook up with an old flame who had lost some weight, Jerry pretended to be her boyfriend just to make her life harder for his own amusement. Everything's a joke to Jerry, evidenced by his inability to keep a straight face, by the way. And George is high-strung and paranoid. He could very well die of a stress-induced heart attack before the Thing could even get a tentacle on him. Elaine is as hot-headed as a tiny yappy dog, to the point where in the episode The Package, she couldn't receive treatment for a rash because one doctor after another refused to treat her. And Kramer is a hipster doofus. His quirkiness, strange ideas, and short attention span frequently gets his friends and the people around him into trouble. He's either going to die first or he's going to die last. I really don't know which, but he's definitely going to end up on the inside of that alien abomination and then on the outside of it as a human suit. When you see stupid people in a horror movie, you know they're going to die. When you see bad people in a horror movie, oh, they're going to die in the worst way.
Oh, yeah.
There are no bigger losers than them.
Well, clearly, an Antarctic base full of highly trained professionals is small potatoes when compared to a group of sexually active 30-somethings from Manhattan. But the Thing didn't survive millennia in the ice to be taken down by the lead actor of B-movie, so we are past the opening arguments and into rebuttals. Team Seinfeld, these rebuttals are making me thirsty.
First of all, you want to talk about special resistance to infection. Every once in a while, there's these weird people that have this biological anomalies and they can't be infected by things. Kramer has every weird biological anomaly that could ever exist. In one episode, it was revealed that he gets seizures whenever he hears the voice of Mary Hart. Yeah. At one point in time, there's, I believe is it a Greek Orthodox? No, a Latvian? Some Orthodox something priest tells him that he is Kavorka. He has the lure of the animal. Basically, there are so many weird biological things that Kramer has in his body. He's like so biologically atypical. The Thing's not going to be able to bond with the cells. It's not going to know what the hell to do with him.
That's all well and good, except for the aberration that I described from J.F. Blake is specifically being described as unique to him. He's the only one.
Given how, like, shaky all of the science that is performed in the Thing is, like, the dumb bullshit that Wilford Brimley does at his laptop. He's like, I don't trust any of the scientists in that movie to, like...
Yeah, can we talk about that for a second? Like, that
was, like, my favorite.
Did he just, like, open Notepad and start typing that in and then point at it and say science? Like, is that what's going on?
I think it looked kind of like Microsoft Paint, or, like, I don't know.
All right, sorry, I didn't mean to derail. Please continue.
There's some kind of, like, sophisticated AI that doesn't like being showy.
Yeah, that doesn't show its work.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, not to mention, Kramer was in the friggin' army. He's totally, like, super capable of dealing with this in his own hipster, doofy-ish way. I mean, he's even quoted as one time saying, if I'm out on the street and it starts to go down, I don't back off until it's finished.
Except when he lost Elaine's furniture because
he gets mugged for an armoire.
Quote unquote street toughs.
He's got a tender heart too, okay?
Yeah, that's gonna really help in this situation.
And not to mention, you guys talk about, no one being brave. Excuse me, but George would not let that Walter White wannabe steal his fucking parking space, and he honked his horn, and he got out, even after Elaine told him, George, don't do that. People kill people for shit like this. And he did it anyways, because George don't care.
The evidence of George's cowardice, I think, far outweighs the evidence of his very occasional and entirely self-serving bravery.
Clearly, he is an irrational man.
The thing about them being just horrible people...
I have the thing about that.
The thing.
Is that they
the
are...
The thing about being horrible people is, it's not a bad thing in this scenario. It's very good. Like, I remember in the episode of The Foundation, Elaine points out to Jerry that he has never felt remorse, to which Jerry replies, yeah, I feel kind of bad about that. And whenever Jerry hears that a bad thing happens to somebody, he always just says, that's a shame. And I mean, we established that as soon as Newman comes in, he says, hello, Jerry. Newman doesn't respond. They know something is up. They've heard on the radio about this thing. They're going to start putting the pieces together. They're just very inquisitive.
Yeah, they're ruthless and no remorse, and they're going to kill their friends that aren't even the thing because they're so afraid of being killed themselves, and then they'll be alone.
So you think the first one they're going to kill is not Newman? Obviously, he's going first. Like,
nah, his head going to pop off and skitter away.
I found it very interesting that you guys opted to make a great part of your opening argument an explanation of why they're all horrible people.
Yeah!
Which might be a good point to take in a survival contest, being a horrible person, if you are at all intelligent or competent. Which these characters have proven time and time again they are not. It's no good being ruthless and cold-blooded if you keep using the same alias. Art Vandelay for your various ventures. If you hit golf balls into the sea for kicks. If you do all the things that the Seinfeld crew has regularly done that are completely idiotic. Elaine losing her employer because of the candy.
But you see, whenever they're working on a problem, they show a really high degree of an ability to, like, reason things out and perform investigations. For example, there's the episode The Conversation. Jerry starts rooting through the medicine cabinet of a woman that he's dating, and he finds a fungal cream, and then through helping out, like, Elaine, like, talks to, like, a doctor friend of hers. They, like, establish this whole elaborate multi-step process to try to figure out what this fungal cream is and what it is on her that is infected and that kind of thing. And they're able to do it by working together and using, like, guile and lying to people and crafting these elaborate scenarios. And it ends up,
that doesn't translate to being able to come up with a blood test to test for an alien. Because what Kurt Russell does in that movie is figures out how the alien thinks and figures out that in its lowest form, it would want to survive more than anything.
I think that Kramer's going to say, this friend of mine, Bob Sacamato, he got infected by the thing a few years ago, and here's what you got to do to get the, he always knows a guy who knows the thing.
And then he's going to walk off by himself and get jumped.
Not to mention, I already said that there's probably like a 77.2% chance one of them is already on fire, and so just the proximity and the heat.
I think that's as good a place as any to end those particular rebuttals.
All right.
Team Thing.
Stop!
Speaking of walking by the thing on fire and then it catches fire, it's not made out of hay. And you definitely don't have a fucking flamethrower in this cabin mounted on the wall, okay? At
Kramer,
best,
where's this paint thinner? Let me set you on fire. Go walk over there. Okay, bye.
So, during your opening arguments, you had a lot of examples, specific examples, about why these characters are intelligent and or, I believe you used the term genius to describe Cosmo Kramer. A couple of things there. First of all, the JFK deduction of the spitting incident. Jerry says specifically that he's heard this story multiple times for a long time. He's had plenty of time to puzzle that out. That's not something he came up with on the fly. Second of all, you know what? I'm not even going to debunk Kramer being a genius. I just think I need to let those words stand in the air and let them debunk themselves. You talked about how none of them would get close to Newman, and how that would kind of prevent any of them from being infected. First of all, Kramer's very good friends with Newman, actually. They're not, like, passing accomplices. They hang out all the time. And he doesn't need to ensnare the apparently highly athletic Cosmo Kramer with tentacles in order to infect him.
He's like a jungle cat, man.
In fact, the thing doesn't need to ensnare any of them with tentacles necessarily to infect them. Contact with them, and specifically blood, is really all you need to do it, which is one of the reasons why it's so hard to figure out who is a thing and who's not. I mean, some of these people, George, will see a drop of blood on the counter and think it's ketchup and wonder what it tastes like. I mean, it's going to be really easy. They don't have to be alone with Kramer. The thing doesn't have to shoot tentacles at Kramer. It's not going to be that hard to infect these people.
Also, that thing has fucking acid spit. If you don't remember from the scene where it was killing the dogs, it can really easily get its goopy DNA all over everyone.
All right, let's give Team Seinfeld a chance to respond.
George might be the kind of person to like eat an eclair out of the trash can, but you think Jerry is going to ever make any sort of mistake that would allow like a foreign body to get into him at all, or Elaine or somebody like that? I think they're way more cautious about that kind of stuff. George is, a human garbage bin. I will give you that, but
there's different ways to catch an idiot and to infect them and eat them from the outside in and then become them. There are many different ways to do it. I think that if Kramer hangs out with Newman too much, and if George eats blood off the table, then, the chances of Elaine and Jerry being infected are then much higher.
There's just going to be more and more things and less idiots in the cabin.
So you mentioned that these people who you spent a great deal of time devoting to their evilness, one of them will volunteer to stay behind?
Not voluntarily. They'll draw straws or something, or one of them will get bullied into it.
You're claiming that one of the 4 cast members of Seinfeld will serve as a distraction and sacrifice their own life to save the others.
Hey, I said George might do it because, he's got to get his rage out.
I think they could very easily bully one of them into doing that.
I think that if these people are as ruthless, cold-blooded, and horrible as you describe, that's not going to happen.
Not to mention, to save face for George a little bit, what I wanted to say earlier is, we keep talking, when the kid's party was on fire, he ran out like a little baby. That could play in his favor in this scenario. The second something starts to go wrong, George showed that he could book it right out to the firefighters outside. So he'll just run the hell out of there.
You'll die of exposure because this is an isolated cabin buried under snow.
He's still getting the hell out of there.
And the creature can easily follow.
There's only one way to win a horror movie, and it's not being the guy who breaks and runs.
Yeah, that's true. You know what happens to
your crew's sitting there dealing with it, and you're the one that's getting away.
You did mention that Jerry's good at noticing flaws. I say to that does not equal figuring out who's an alien that can mimic people's personalities.
Jerry, he might not do a blood test, but he could do something like, I remember there's the time where the smell that wouldn't come out of his car after the valet was driving it, he was able to get the maitre d' from the hotel to sit in the car, and then he locked his car doors and was able to grill him and not let him leave the stinky car until he'd agreed to give him a discount. He's capable of grilling people. He's capable of putting people's feet to the fire.
Disregarding that, at one point over the course of the movie The Thing, Kurt Russell's character, R.J. McCready, he's doing the administration of the blood test, right?
Yeah.
And this is very clearly a smart dude. He's figured out how the thing works. He's figured out a solution to finding out which one of them is. He is logical. He is methodical in this practice. And he is also positive that Gary is going to be a thing. And he was wrong. So if someone who is that intelligent and that methodical in their enterprise in this regard can be wrong about something like that after making those kind of observations, I don't think the Seinfeld crew has a chance.
All right, well, that combination of bass guitar, horn section, and weird mouth noises means we've finished the rebuttal segment and are ready to move on to the lightning round.
It's lightning.
Thank you, Colin.
It's lightning.
Thank you.
I'm afraid.
The Thing has chased the Seinfeld crew through the lodge, causing destruction and mayhem on a scale never seen before on a network TV sitcom budget. It's clear that the New Yorkers aren't going to be getting back their deposit on the lodge. All they can hope to escape with now is their lives. The 4 friends flee the lodge and into the snow, the crab-like creature with Newman's hideously distorted face skittering close behind them. Jerry, George, Elaine, and Kramer hide behind a nearby shed, trying to catch their breath and come up with their next plan. Then, Elaine sees something. Down at the foot of the snow-covered mountain is the town in which the friends first arrived. And there, in the town square, is the 87th annual convention of flamethrower and napalm enthusiasts.
Jesus.
If they can just get down the hill ahead of the alien thing, they'll be safe, but they can't outrun the creature in this deep snow. Just then, George looks inside the shed they've been hiding behind. There, lying on the ground, seemingly untouched by the dust and cobwebs that coat everything else in the shed, is a 4-person bobsled. The thing has been following the tracks of its prey through the thick snow and creeps toward the shed overlooking the valley below. It's about to break through the wall of the shed when suddenly a gleaming bobsled erupts from the double doors, rocketing down the side of the mountain and heading for the town below. The thing realizes that, if the humans get to the safety of the town, the other humans there will come hunting for it, with fire. This must not come to pass. Looking in the same shed that the humans emerged from, the thing's eye equivalents come to rest upon an object which the humans, in their haste, overlooked. A snowboard.
Yes.
Come on.
So, advocates,
What?
this has shifted from a tense and suspenseful horror film about nothing into a straight-up downhill bobsled/snowboard race.
You're worse than Liz.
This is like ski free, but horrible
Basically.
and disgusting.
Will the Caucasian quartet be able to race to safety? Or will the shape-shifting alien shred the gnar and overtake its competition? Team Seinfeld went first in the main round, so Team Thing will go first in the lightning round. Go for it.
Are you kidding me? The thing on a snowboard?
I'm gonna need a little more than that, please.
This is a shape-shifting creature. It can make itself as aerodynamic as needed, while those clusterfucks are gonna be arguing and fighting with each other as they're desperately flailing and trying to get away. Fear makes you irrational, and they are irrational even when they're not afraid.
Moreover, I think it's pretty safe to say that this scenario takes place following the events of the original Thing film, considering the word has kind of gotten out a little bit about this thing. So with that in mind, you have to think the Thing at this point has not only assimilated all the memories and knowledge of Newman, who may be a snowboarder, you never know, but also the memories and knowledge of, let's see, 27 people who at one point found themselves at an Antarctic research base. One of them is going to have some mad snowboard skills. I'm guessing it's Mary Elizabeth Winstead, but if it's not her, it's fucking Tormund Giantsbane, all right? That dude, think of all the knowledge that the Thing has subsumed over the course of all of its fucking murders. I mean, this thing would basically be an Olympic snowboarder compared to the Seinfeld crew, who, I mean, do they know how to pilot a bobsled? Who's driving? I think this is important information. If it's Kramer, they're already done. So yeah, I think the intensity of purpose and the wealth of knowledge and experience in the mind of the Thing is going to be more than enough to let it catch those 4 chucklefucks.
Yeah, one of them's gonna think that by watching Cool Runnings, they get this. It is much harder.
They watched it right up until the end, and they were like, I think I got this. And then it's...
Yeah, for sure.
All right, very good. Team Seinfeld, what do you have to say?
In the original movie we see of The Thing, well, not the original one, because that was like from the 50s, but in the John Carpenter's The Thing movie that we see, it actually takes the Thing quite a while to shapeshift into a given form. It takes 30 seconds before it can break out of some bonds, and it kind of takes a little while. So I think that, first of all,
30 seconds is a long time.
It is in bobsledding. I mean, hey, you got fractions of seconds, man. So first of all, we're going to have a bit of an edge. In terms of the team's ability to bobsled, what you got, Liz? I'm thinking about it.
So basically what's going to happen is they're all going to scramble for the bobsled. They're going to get into an inevitable fight about who gets to sit in the front of the bobsled. Kramer is going to end up on top of the bobsled at one point and will probably be launched off and be used to hit the Thing as a human projectile.
I did a quick Google search on bobsledding, and I figured out that there are 4 jobs in the bobsled. You have the driver, you have 2 crewmen, and you have the brakeman. The driver is the one who has to steer, and of course, the driver is going to be George, because as he has stated in numerous episodes, he's an amazing driver. He's doing things in this car right now you have no idea. He can make a right turn from the left lane. He can make a left turn from the right lane. So,
too bad it's not John Voight's bobsled.
yes, too bad it's not John Voight's bobsled. I think in the back, of course, we have the brakeman, who's going to be in charge of, pulling the brake whenever there's a hazard. And I guess for that we have Jerry, who is
as the straight man brakeman.
Yeah, whose hypervigilance and OCD will cause him to be able to see oncoming dangers way faster than everybody else. In the middle, we have the crewmen who are in charge of steering, but with these little push bars they can use to make slight adjustments. So I guess we're gonna have Elaine doing her little kicks and Kramer doing his jerky motions to that he is so good at.
That sounds fucking dangerous. They're gonna steer like that?
Yeah, man.
Well, we've heard a lot of arguing today, a lot of quotes and references, a lot of bullshit, and maybe even the occasional fact. But now I have to...
Let's not stretch the point.
Yeah. Let's
not assume
the less,
things
the
aren't
less
there.
said about that, the better.
But certainly no hugging and no learning,
No,
right?
absolutely. I have to decide which of these characters is coming out on top this week, so I'm going to take some time off camera, and when I come back, it'll be up to you to figure out if I've been replaced by an alien shapeshifter.
Have you guys ever seen a documentary called Comedian?
Yeah, that's the Jerry Seinfeld one. Yeah, it's really good.
The one after Seinfeld ended and he decided to totally reinvent himself as a comedian and never tell a single joke that he had ever told before.
Yeah.
It's such a good documentary. He has to start from the ground up because nobody will book him.
Yeah.
Without his usual jokes. And it shows him, like, coming up through these, like, dirty underground comedy clubs dealing with hecklers and just talking all this shit to the audience. It's fucking awesome. It's a great documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah, being a stand-up comedian, super props to anyone who does it. That's some brave stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of some brave stuff, I fucking hate you people for making me sweat this much over the Seinfeld thing match.
Oh yeah, you guys did a really good job.
What the hell?
You never go half speed. You always gotta give it your all, right?
I'm so worried about this.
Are you?
Yes.
Awesome.
Did it blow anyone else's minds like it blew mine that like cell phones used to not be a thing? Because I was watching Seinfeld and I turned to Dan and it's like, why aren't they just, oh my God.
Yeah. So many things so easily solved with it.
You and I are the same age, kid.
I forget that they weren't always there.
We're both 28, but I have not lost my memories of those times.
I definitely recall that, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have that memento thing, kid?
Who are you?
I watched Seinfeld and it didn't seem at all odd that they didn't have cell phones. I didn't really know what cell phones were.
Well, Miles, if not at least by your age, on the inside, we know you're an old man, like a bitter old man, deep on the inside. So.
I mean, no, that's on the outside of the inside.
Yeah. What's on the outside of the outside and what's on the inside of the inside?
Well, the outside of the outside is a 31-year-old dick.
Okay.
The outside of the inside is a bitter old man curmudgeon that I so often enjoy portraying.
And do we know what's on the inside of the inside?
No, and you never will.
Okay.
No.
I think a skeleton.
I'm going to, for right now, just assume that it's bitter old men all the way down.
Nope. Oh, sorry, buddy.
His true essence is located at the bottom of his whiskey glass.
I've never yet found it.
And so he searches on.
Liz, I don't know why you're wasting time with these scenarios when what you should be doing is looking up sexy George Costanza pictures.
Yeah.
Nope.
That sounds like my cue to come back in.
What have you done?
Oh, God.
All right, so, oh man, this was incredibly difficult for me to figure out. Like, okay, I knew going in, like, let's be real here. We all knew that the thing was going to have a really big advantage. And I also knew that Team Seinfeld was going to pull out some hilarious arguments. I was not anticipating you guys weaponizing your own despicableness.
No, neither was I.
That was a stroke of genius, the likes of which not even Cosmo Kramer can realize.
It was like equivalent to our ignoring the flight speed and engine quality between Serenity and the Millennium
and just
Falcon.
giving it to you? We're like, you can just have that point.
Yeah, basically.
I know you were saying it, I was like, well, shit, a lot of my arguments redundant.
Yeah. Miles, you made some good points about how it took a very scientific mind a long time to prove who was infected. But I also think that the Seinfeld crew did a good job of pointing out the fact that, you don't necessarily need to be super scientific in order to suss out that someone is acting very strangely. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of an obsessive compulsive personality. But then again, like the Thing crew did a very good job of pointing out how incredibly self-destructive the Seinfeld crew is, and how, the Thing, as what is essentially a perfect predator, can just prey on those who are apparently much more formidable than the Seinfeld crew. So, in the end, I have to say, I think I'm fairly convinced at this point that at least one of the Seinfeld crew will get away. And that's all.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So,
We got the soup! We got the soup!
But...
Jeez, I did not see that coming. That is so great.
That was a game of such inches. I can't even tell you. Like, both sides put up such an amazing fight. And, you guys, you bring tears to my eyes. It's so beautiful.
GG, y'all. I mean, Dan is wrong, but GG. So we're giving up thanks. Hi, guys. Thanks for being fans. On Twitter, The Indulgery and Sabina Mosher, thank you so much. Thank you for not starting your tweets with @SmashFiction so that everyone can see them.
Yes, for those of you not schooled in Twitter, if you are tweeting about us and you want to start your tweet with @SmashFiction, just put like a period in front of it. That way everyone can see it, not just people who are following us.
That helps us a lot. Mike Booch and Semiconda actually tweeted about us on International Podcast Day, so thank you guys. And they, as well as Paladins Day, Cosplay Fiend, The Gameable Podcast, Sharon Holden, and Rafael Medina retweeted a lot of episode links, so thank you. Over to Tumblr, Geek Haven and Mr. Barb Gentleman reblogged Extraordinary League, so thank you guys. And By Forge and Fire reblogged Skeletor, Mumra, and Extraordinary League about Extraordinary League, stating that there was a net loss of clothing in that episode.
Yes.
even the NPCs get more naked as it goes on. So yeah.
I will point out 80%,
And we started off with not that much clothing.
80% of the clothing loss in Extraordinary League is due to one character. So
Sorry.
Thank you guys for spreading the Smash Fic word.
yeah. We have one new iTunes review. It is by Salnulj.
How do you spell?
Salnlj. So
I think that's a sound that the thing made.
I think so. The title is just wow, and this person says, "Holy hand grenade of Antioch! Great Scott! These people are trying to kill me. Not that it doesn't happen all the time anyway. Death by laughter is a diabolical strategy, which is working. My resistance is futile. I am being assimilated into the collective that is nerddom. It seems I am doomed to this existence for the rest of my days.
Boom!
It is my greatest regret, the second being that I summoned an evil Fire Lord into the world, and my greatest joy. Until Frostmourne claims my soul, or Morgoth breaks the door of night, I will listen to this podcast, provided I'm not recruited into an interdimensional union of nerd icons. My hat and whip rest my case. How many nerd references in here? You have my respect if you get them all. However, you are not prepared."
Oh God, 10 out of 10.
Man.
10 out of 10.
Epic review.
That's like an epic poem right there.
Liz, did you just review the review?
Yes.
Can we give this review its own iTunes page and start giving it likes?
So yes, thank you to Salnulj
Solnog the Forgotten.
and to everyone else who reviews.
That is a Lovecraftian monster.
Yes. To everyone else who reviews, thank you very much. It is much appreciated. Thanks to everyone for listening to this especially spooky and ridiculous episode of Smash Fiction. And now, a word from one of our hosts.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Colin.
Hi, Colin.
Hi, Colin.
Hi. Well, I was talking to the listener, but I guess. So, I have an announcement to make this week. It's not something I'm super happy about, but it's kind of just the way things are going right now. I'm going to be going on a hiatus for a while from being a normal host of Smash Fiction. I've been working.
Well, you were never a normal host. Let's be honest about this.
Frequent host on Smash
Regular.
Fiction? Regardless, I will be none of those. I will neither be normal, nor regular, nor frequent, anything like that. I've been working for a while on a few side projects of mine, most notably a card game that I designed a couple years ago called Cobble that I've been trying to get published. I'm going to be doing my best to get it published via GameCrafter later this year so that people can buy it online if they want, and it's just going to be eating up all of my time. And this podcast, for those of you who don't know, is absurdly time-consuming for everyone involved. There's like a ton of research that we have to do for it, and I just can't be doing it every week for right now. So at this point, I am handing off my power coin to a dear friend of ours, our dear friend Megan Bob, who will be taking over my spot as one of the 5 regular hosts on this program for the indefinite future.
Hi.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Oh my God, Bob! So good to see you.
Did we ever address why Bob is called Bob? And there's not really a
I
huge
think
story.
we should. I feel like
Just her
Me
name.
too.
It's just
Well,
a thing.
Somebody else
The
had the
mystery.
name, and I killed them, so I took
Yeah.
All right,
When she
so right now
kills
you're-
someone,
right
she
now-
takes their name and adds it to hers.
So we'll be referring
now
to
are-
her as Colin after tonight.
No, she's gonna,
Megan Bob
she's
Collin.
gonna be Megan Bob Collin. Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
it's just gonna keep growing every time she absorbs someone's essence.
she's like Rogue, but with names.
right.
Yes. But yeah, we're very, very happy and excited to have Megan Bob on as a regular host.
You're very happy to get rid of Colin.
No. We're gonna miss you a great deal, Colin.
Yes.
A great deal.
And
But if you have to leave,
Yes.
then Megan Bob was our first draft choice
Cool.
to replace you.
And mine
so-
as well, because she's great and I love her.
You guys
But
are so fucking
I'm going to still be on as a guest host as frequently as I can afford to, but it's just, I need a lot more time than this show can give me. And so, as you guys know, like I said, just for the sake of the audience, this show is absurdly time consuming, and I have so much respect for all my other co-hosts. I don't know how they're able to devote as much time to this as they can, because I don't have the kind of time right now. Sorry very much, everybody. I will be on whenever I can.
It's not the last of you, Colin.
And for those of you who are looking for more Colin Mulcairn in your life, he is going to be a guest on this very week's episode of the Gameable podcast.
Oh.
Yeah, should have just come out yesterday, actually.
Yes, in which you talk about an anime from the 90s. So that'll be delightful.
Yes.
And guys, he is on Twitter at Colin Mulcairn. Spam him.
No, I am still an egg.
At Colin Mulcairn.
This egg will never crack, no matter how much pressure you put me under.
Wait, I want to be clear. Colin is still going to be Morden, right?
Yes,
Good.
I'm still going to
Okay.
be Morden.
Okay, that's important to me.
Colin will still be appearing on the Extraordinary League podcast.
When we do RPGs, I just have to show up like a little baby bird and just get content dumped into my mouth. I don't have to do any prep for that one.
Jeez.
All I have to do is have a little opening quip,
Yeah.
and sometimes I don't even have that. So
You did sing that song the one time.
We'll miss you, buddy, but we'll hear you. Everybody will get to hear you on Extraordinary League, and you'll be back on Smash Fiction from time
yes,
to time.
I will still be a regular guest host. I'm sorry, I will be an irregular guest host quite a bit.
Yes.
An irregular and abnormal guest host.
Yes.
So join us next week for Bob's first appearance as a regular guest host. And that match, gentle listener, is going to be Candyman versus Slender Man. Smash Fiction is produced by Miles Schneiderman, with logo designed by Colin Mulcairn.
Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod for our theme song, which is called Hitman. You can find his work at www.incompetech.com.
You can follow the Smash Fiction podcast on Twitter at SmashFicPodcast and search for us on Facebook and Tumblr.
Subscribe on iTunes, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight.
Sorry, I'm getting all like... I need to drink more water. Getting too much saliva. Hold on.
Dan, can you confirm if Kit's jaw is like starting to split apart and tentacles are coming out? Is that what that sound is?
That happens pretty regularly, so don't worry about it.
Man, that's a bedroom stuff. I'm gonna send you special fan art, Liz.
Oh, no.
As revenge.
Well, this is going to be my last time doing one of these things for a while. These, like, discussion, while the host's gone. I don't know, did anybody have any nice things they want to say to me? It's your last chance to, get these, about how great I am.
You just
anything
called me
like
a
that?
bitter old man all the way down, so no, I don't.
We'll miss you.
Yeah, we will miss you.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for.
Never
Keep
mind.
it coming. All right.